Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. Trump is gaining big time in the polls. This is huge. It comes right after Kamala Harris made a border visit, and it's backfired big time. I'm telling you, her campaign is just going straight down. Everyone is furious. She literally spent 19 minutes at the border wall. It's literally a joke. It's so bad that Tim Walz, people can't even stand him. He went to a Michigan game and literally got booed out. And on his way out, he literally flipped off a fan and everybody's like, are you serious? We also have it where Josh Hawley is going after the TSA director for allowing illegal immigrants to board planes using arrest warrants that they've been sent to get on plane rides. I'm not making this stuff up. You're about to see it. They're talking before Congress. It's like literally, I can't believe how these left Democrats are just operating. And right now, since the border is a disaster, the Democrats are trying to bring back up January 6th. It's literally, they're trying to play the same game when everybody's past it. But we got so much breaking news for you today. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And also, too, just want to say thank you to all the new members of the True Life News family. We are so thankful for you. We are going to do some great things. We already showed you a video of us giving back using the members, the money that comes from the members, and we want to continue doing that. The links are in the description to join. And just want to say thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation to us in the channel. We are so grateful and thankful for that. I want to give a quick shout out to Andy and Rose for the super chat donations. Thank y'all so much. But let's get right into it, because you can't make this stuff up, how bad it's getting for the Harris campaign. Check it out.
Finally deciding to go to the border on the eve of an election, staging a photo op along the border wall, and instead of taking ownership of her failures as the czarina of the border, she blames President Donald Trump.
There are consequential issues at stake in this election, and one is the security of our border. The United States is a sovereign nation, and I believe we have a duty to set rules at our border and to enforce them. These men and women who work there and at other places along our southern border help keep our nation secure. And they need more resources.
I wish you would say that to Laken Riley. I wish you would actually say her name to all the people that have lost their lives because of this open border. This is a joke.
Do their jobs. And so even though Donald Trump tried to sabotage the border security bill, it is my pledge to you that as President of the United States, I will bring it back up and proudly sign it into law.
But wasn't she the one who wanted to abolish ICE and decriminalize all border crossings?
I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing. Let me just be very clear. We have to have a secure border, but I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminals.
Would you be committing to close immigration detention centers?
Absolutely, on day one. On day one.
This, as devastating ICE data crashed her border visit before it even happened. Thousands of illegal aliens with sexual assault and murder convictions are right now roaming.
Look at like this data right here that you see was released right before she went to the border. Guys, they don't have to release it. They choose when to release it. Let me tell you this. They planned it because they can't stand her, because this data is so bad. They want people to see she's a fraud.
United States. Border Patrol union boss says Kamala can fix the border right now if she wanted.
Ooh.
She's ignored it, the border completely. She was down there for less than 30 minutes over the problem that's been facing our nation for close to 4 years. The problem she created. Look, she's the vice president, right? And she hasn't done anything for 3.5 years. If she wanted to do anything at all, she would have done it. And as far as I'm concerned, she's still got a couple more months of being vice president. If she really is serious, she would do something now.
Do something now.
Earlier today at a campaign rally in Wisconsin, Trump agreed.
After 4 straight years of obliterating our border, I watched this show that she put on. 4 years of the most incompetent border anywhere in the world in history. Border czar Harris went to the border to lie in the most shameless and horrible way possible. Even yesterday when she was talking about how she's going to start getting very tough. Why didn't she do this 4 years ago?
Griff, that was you interviewing Art Del Cueto and that, but you also have been at the border from day one, with Fox being really, from the get-go, the only network covering this crisis.
You know, Dagan, put this into context. There is, according to this devastating ICE data, there are 425,000 criminals loose on the streets today that are not detained by ICE. 13,000 more of them are murderers, 15,000 convicted of sexual assault. But here's what you have to put into perspective. While DHS says, and we don't have the data for how many of the 400,000 crossed or entered the U.S. under the Biden administration as opposed to past administrations, and DHS is sort of pivoting to say, well, it's going back decades. Well, a decade ago, Dagan, Kate Steinle was killed when she was murdered, shot in the back on a pier in San Francisco in the summer of 2015. That's a decade ago. That was a major story because it was so rare. Today, we have a Kate Steinle every week, and that's why the poll numbers show Americans and every...
Do y'all realize that Harris and Biden, if they wanted to, they could literally send the National Guard to go and protect the southern border, but they don't. Because they want people to come in. And I'm actually going to show you, like, this is the most mind-blowing data ever, but it's the truth of why this all happened in just a moment.
Town in every city in every state are worried about this because of the glaring public safety risk to the communities in the U.S.
That was, Miranda, not a peep from Kamala Harris about the data that Griff was talking about. But not a peep about the Americans murdered and raped by the illegals coming across the border under her watch, who should not be here. These are crimes that are being committed that should not have happened.
There's blood on Kamala Harris's hands. She's the border czar. She doesn't care. And I mean, the height of the woman to go down to the border and start blaming Donald Trump for the crisis that she's created. She has 4 more months as vice president. She could fix this tomorrow with executive orders. She could get Joe Biden, who seems incapable of doing anything, does whatever he's told, fix this problem. They could fix it tomorrow. She won't. She doesn't care. It's political. And I think Donald Trump was quite right when he said today that she should be resigning, not running for president. No politician who is responsible for this disaster, for the tragedy that has befallen a lot of families with being murdered or raped, their loved ones, and the future. I mean, this is going to be so difficult to somehow remove between 10 and 20 million illegal migrants from this country is going to tear the country apart. It's going to be very hard if Donald Trump wins to do this properly. It's a legacy that's been left for this country to suffer for generations to come. I cannot believe that she's getting away with this.
Yeah, it's intentional.
Let me tell you this. It was all intentional. Everything was by design. And, like, she made that point, which is super, like, so just forward thinking that it'll literally tear this country apart, trying to make sure we get people out and the backlash and whatnot. But I'm telling you this. I love it. What Elon Musk put. He said, I want to show you this. He said, very few Americans realize that if Trump is not elected, remember, this is the richest guy in the world. This guy doesn't have to do this. He didn't have to buy X or Twitter and allow for free speech, but he's doing it for the future of democracy. Look what he puts. If Trump is not elected, this will be the last election. Far from being a threat to democracy, he is the only one to save it. Let me explain. If even 1 in 20 illegals become citizens per year, something that the Democrats are expediting as fast as humanly possible, that would be about 2 million new legal voters in 4 years. The voting margin in swing states is often less than 20,000 votes. That means that if the Democratic Party succeeds, there will be no more swing states. Which is, remember, they're sending and literally flying people in, the Haitians and all them, to swing states. Blaze Skywalker, thank you so much for the super chat. He said, keep doing what you're doing. Big dog, love the show. Your message and breakdown of what we need to pay attention to is definitely getting out there. Thank you, bro. Hey, appreciate you, Blaze. Show him some love in the chat. Teresa Anderson, new member to the True Life News family. Show Teresa some love in the chat, everybody. Check this out. Moreover, the Biden-Harris administration has been flying asylum seekers who are fast-tracked to citizenship directly into swing states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Arizona. 100%. They're not flying them in to like Tennessee because Tennessee is really, really red, but they're flying them in to swing states. American then becomes a one-party state and democracy is over. The only elections will be the Democratic Party primaries. This already happened in California many years ago following the 1986 amnesty. I don't know if y'all remember that. Brooklyn Chick, thank you so much for the super chat. Everybody show Brooklyn some love in the chat. We getting some good news to y'all today. If you remember in 1986, they passed the amnesty. Guess what? It's been blue ever since. And it's a super majority. The only thing holding California back from extreme socialism and suffocating government policies is that people can leave California and still remain in America. Once the whole country is controlled by one party, there will be no escape. Everywhere in America will be like the nightmare that is downtown San Francisco. That's where we're at right now. Thank God that this whole thing backfired on Kamala Harris when it comes to the polls and what people are seeing, but we still need to vote and get as many people as possible, because if they fast-track millions of people to vote on the Democratic side in these swing states, I'm telling you, this is bad. Check this out, but this is good news, what I'm about to show you.
We ask a basic question of Hispanic voters: which party do you more identify with? 37% now say Republicans, 49% say Democrats. But again, look at how this has shifted in just the last dozen years. In 2012, this was a 41-point advantage for the Democrats. It has come all the way down to 12 points, Kristen, a 29-point drop in terms of that gap there on which party Hispanics identify with in just 12 years. We ask a basic question.
This is Hispanic voters. This is like a lot, I'm Hispanic, and this is a lot of my family, and my, the people that come, my culture and whatnot, of just seeing through all the fakeness, seeing that the Democratic Party is not for the American people. 70% of all the wealth in the United States is held by the Democratic Party. If 70% is held by the Democratic Party, then why are we still where we're at? Why do they keep pushing that it's the Republicans who are for the rich, when the rich are the Democratic Party? But I'm telling you this, Dan Bongino had an amazing point of view how they're going to try to switch it up. Check it out.
Telling you, this is what's going to happen. You are going to see in probably just the coming days, if their internal polls in the Harris campaign continue to get worse, which they are, and her trip to the border today is going to be a disaster. It's going to remind everyone how incompetent this woman is. I guarantee you, the Harris campaign is going to double down on the MAGA threat to democracy. It's all they have left, folks. They can't run on the border. They can't run on the economy. Their surrogates don't know what to say. Her interviews, she beclowns herself. The New York Times is ripping her to shreds. You got Tapper on CNN asking questions. Trust me, this is not going well. I don't care what anyone tells you. They could still win. There is still time for the media to pull scam. I'm just telling you, they're in bad shape. The reason I bring up the threat to democracy thing, this is not gelling. The
No.
American people don't give a about your fake January 6th narratives. We now know that we're feds in the crowd. Explosive news coming out yesterday, if you missed yesterday's show. The American people out there who are voting and undecided, who work for a living, do not want to hear your threat to democracy narrative from the exact people who are trying to put Donald Trump in jail. You doubt me? Again, MSNBC clip. Why are we playing MSNBC? Because no one's going to accuse me of being biased. This is a freaking MSNBC clip with Alex Wagner talking to union workers. Thank you, union workers, for everything you do to build this country. I would tap my heart, but my elbows don't work. I love you guys. I love you all. I'm serious. My brother's a union electrician. My dad was a union plumber. God bless you. I want you to listen to her talking to people who built America about the threat to democracy January 6th thing. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Can we talk about real stuff?
Right.
Watch this.
Talk to me about your level of interest in the criminal charges and so forth.
February 6th?
January 6th.
He said February 6th.
So I remember that day. I know he was the standing president. I'm not familiar with the charges that are being brought against him for that. I'm not following that charge for I know there's multiple court cases going on. I'm just not familiar with it.
I mean, that doesn't sound like it's going to be a factor in deciding who to vote for.
No.
Okay, so when I say January 6th, what do you think?
Oh, I just remember seeing it on the news, like all the riots and stuff. Don't really know what it was about or what happened, though.
How did it make you feel when you saw it?
I don't know. I don't really feel any way about it. People showed their emotion, I guess. Probably in the wrong way, but it happened.
You see, the libs will never do what I do. They will never give you two perspectives on things. I'm playing for you their perspective.
Yeah.
Because they keep trying to make this dog bark. They keep trying to make fetch happen. Someone needs to tell Gretchen, fetch is not going to happen. People are done with this narrative.
Yep.
They know they haven't been told the truth about January 6th. I've told you the truth. I have been totally candid. I've watched the videos. Some of that really should not have happened. And I have been clear on it from day one. However, because I have no problem telling you the truth, the story of January 6th has not been told. And the more they tell, the worse it is for them. Part 3 of this is most people are done with it. They can't feed the dog, the kids, get braces on the kids' teeth, pay the mortgage. They don't want to hear about Chewbacca guy taking over the Northeastern Territories as the Lord Viceroy General. They don't care. You keep going with it because you're just wasting everybody's time. And even worse, do you see this from Trump yesterday on Truth? Shocking, breaking news. Now we know, according to a John Solomon report, that another January 6th narrative is completely fallen apart.
I love this right here.
Trump did authorize the National Guard. I thought we were told he didn't. You were told a lot of things, folks. And it turns out all of it was. The left will believe anything. They tell their kids a bunch of lies. They live in a bubble of stupid. I want to fit this clip in. I know we're running a little late, but this is important. I want you to watch this CNN clip. This is what happens. You watch this show, I give you the left's perspective in mind, correct? So we can make informed decisions. I'm never going to stop doing that. The left will never do that. So now you understand them, but these idiots will never understand you. I want you to listen to the CNN segment about how the kids of leftists even believe crazy stuff.
Bad.
This is why
It's
the country's
so bad.
divided. And it sure as shit ain't because of you. Check this out.
Overall, the biggest finding, the children in the study were polarized, with what researchers called more extreme responses from the blue state kids than the red state kids.
You hear that? The kids are polarized, but more extreme responses from blue state kids than red state kids.
Donald Trump, he did bad things. He's like Hitler. He only wanted to be president so that he can just control everybody.
Trump is supporting January 6th now. I remember that January 6th, it was a bunch of Republicans believing Trump.
Wow.
That's their kids. Now do you see why You guys don't live in a bubble and we understand the left, but the left will never understand us because they tell themselves lies, actual lies. Trump colluded with the Russians. Trump told people to go storm the Capitol. None of this stuff is real. Be thankful. Thank the Lord this weekend. I mean it. I'm not using his name in vain. I mean it. Thank the Lord.
I'm telling you this. The stuff that's coming out now, they're doing these analyzations on the kids and whatnot. You can't be having kids thinking Trump's Hitler. Creating that comparison of a guy who literally led the charge to murder over 6 million Jews versus a former president who literally just got these crimes against him, the whole just targeting of the government, all this. And it just blows my mind how, I'm telling y'all, we need an awakening in the United States because this data you can't get past, and it's going to get worse if somebody doesn't do something. Check it out.
To the border, the open border. On Friday, the vice president traveled to the southern border in Douglas, Arizona, calling for tougher border security measures, despite having an open border policy throughout the Biden-Harris administration that has seen more than 8 million people illegally enter America, hundreds on the terrorist watch.
She was literally at the border wall for 19 minutes. She wasn't even there for 30, not an hour. This is the leadership that the Democrats want. They want a 19-minute photo op.
List. Thousands of others already having committed murder, as well as more than 2 million evading apprehension altogether, the gotaways who have disappeared into America without a trace. Immigration and Customs Enforcement revealing this week to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez that more than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder are currently free in the United States and on ICE's non-detained docket.
This
in a
is
statement
nuts.
to Fox News, Homeland Security says this: the data in this letter is being misinterpreted. The data goes back decades. It includes individuals who are entered the country over the past 40 years or more, the vast majority of whose custody determination was made long before this administration. It also includes many who are under the jurisdiction or currently incarcerated by federal, state, and local law enforcement partners. Joining me now with more on the Biden-Harris border crisis is Arizona Senate candidate Kari Lake and Art Del Creto. He's the vice president of the National Border Patrol Council. Thanks very much for being here to you both. I want to get the facts on the ground. First off,
the facts.
Art,
that's what we
take
need.
this on. The DHS is saying, no. The 13,000 people who are in this country who are actually murderers already, that's being misinterpreted.
Well, I mean, I think it's just sweeping under the rug because the story came out, and you got to ask these individuals, where's anyone that you've allowed in the country? That's what you got to ask them. Where are all the people that have come in under this administration? Where are they? Have you kept track of them? And if they're going to come back and say, oh no, this is decades, well then you know what? They haven't been doing their job for decades because where are all these individuals that they've allowed in the country? But again, I think it's just something, they're just trying to, change the focus on it and look at something, making you look at something else. But the issue is clear, and I think the American public understands that, and we just cannot afford 4 more years of this.
Yeah, I have the letter to Tony Gonzalez here, Kari Lake, and basically they're saying that it's 13,000 people who have committed murder that are running free, 15,000 others who have committed rape. Your reaction to Kamala Harris's border visit in Arizona on Friday?
I found it despicable. She spent 20 minutes on the border. She's been the border czar, Maria, for almost 4 years now. And she came down, I think, to make her friends in the mainstream media happy so that they could finally say she visited the border. Spent 20 minutes staring down at her feet, standing next to the wall. And I was surprised she didn't call Joe Biden and say, we did it, Joe. We destroyed America. Because that's exactly what they're attempting to do. And Art just mentioned it. 30,000 convicted rapists and murderers are roaming around in our country. What they didn't mention in that list was the number of terrorists that are in our country right now. We're living in dangerous times. They just discovered IEDs and other weapons right on the other side of the border in Arizona. And, you have to wonder, are those meant for some of the terrorists that are now roaming around? And what about the 325,000 children who've been trafficked over our border, who Kamala Harris and my opponent, Rubin...
And y'all know that Harris nor Biden have not said anything about that number, the 323,000 missing children from the border, whatever you call it. Encounters. That's what they call it. They call it encounters. Because they see them, They give them a piece of paper and then they let them go on the way. Have no idea.
Who's in lockstep with her, have lost track of. My opponent has been 100% voting with Kamala Harris. He's open borders. He calls the border wall dumb and stupid, and he said he would never, ever, ever put a penny into building it. And he is for these sanctuary cities. I was recently in New York. That city is a wreck right now, and you can blame it on illegal immigration. Even though they're not on the southern border, they're feeling the effects of it.
Yeah, Art, what about that? I mean, the children who have been missing and trafficked.
That's so heartbreaking.
What can you tell us about life on the ground there in Texas with this open border? What has been the impact?
Well, I think the impact has been felt across every single state, and obviously on the border states. People, this is the problem. They haven't kept track of anyone coming through the border, and now we're seeing it out in California. A lot of these children that are being trafficked into the country, they're coming across, and we're getting reports that they're coming with melatonin. So the traffickers are giving these children melatonin, putting them to sleep. That way they don't make noise as they're coming into the United States. So it just makes it even worse. And look, Carrie Lake and myself, we've been accused many times of saying, oh, you know, they're spreading fear for no reason. You've heard it said, every state's a border state. Carrie and myself, we live in an actual border state. Tucson sector is at the very top of the list when it comes to encounters. And I can tell you right now, if this administration is given 4 more years after the chaos that they've created in the time they've already been here, they're going to feel empowered, and they're going to realize, hey, we don't need to do anything, just continue what we're doing because people don't care. The American public has to care. They have to show it come election time, because if we have 4 more years of this, I do not believe we'll ever recuperate. It's going to be devastating, and we will not recuperate in this country for many, many decades to come, and certainly we will never recuperate within our own lifetime.
You know, that's something that the other person said too, is that what they've created is a decades-long problem with this whole situation. And y'all think this is bad? You're not going to believe what I'm about to show you. They're literally, illegal immigrants are flying. They don't have IDs. They don't have Social Security. They have nothing, but they have arrest warrants. The airplanes are literally allowing them to board planes with arrest warrants. And we have this actual footage now with the TSA director acknowledging this. Check this out.
I think for every person watching this hearing, who has experienced the TSA screening process, it can often be very onerous. People who have done absolutely nothing wrong are law-abiding citizens in every respect, are subject to the most invasive screenings at these airports. Yet you're allowing illegal aliens to present warrants for arrest and waving them onto airplanes. How does that make sense?
Are you kidding me?
You just told me that you've let 1,000 people travel on airlines who present to you warrants for arrest.
Yes,
right?
sir. And they present those warrants. That warrant is the beginning of an identity verification process, which follows.
Why isn't it the end? Why isn't that the end of the process? And you say, sorry, you have a warrant for an arrest. We're not going to allow you to get on an airplane.
Because we want to identify who is presenting themselves at the screening checkpoint.
Boy, I think you're going to have a hard time explaining to folks who are randomly selected, or sometimes perhaps not so randomly selected for enhanced screenings, but you're allowing illegal aliens with warrants for arrest to get onto airplanes, and you've allowed at least 1,000 of them in this calendar year. I mean, I just find that total.
You can't make this crap up. That's the TSA director who is saying, yeah, we let them on the plane. They had their piece of paper. They brought, this is a napkin, but they had their piece of paper. It's a warrant for their arrest. They need to be arrested, but instead of arresting them, we just used that as their identification, and we sent them, and we let them get on the plane. If we're not in some deep crap, I don't know what we're in.
Extraordinary. Mr. Bukowski, thanks for being here. I've got some questions for you. And to be frank with you, I've got some concerns about your record. Let's start with your decision to allow illegal immigrants to use arrest warrants as a form of ID.
Yes, that's where a lot of this part is at right now. Like, it literally blows my mind. We've got Kamala Harris making this photo op, doesn't even span 30 minutes at the border. But guess what? She's going to answer. I feel like I showed you the polls. People are going to hold her accountable. They're pushing it all out because this backfired on her big time. I wasn't trying to do the thing, but you know, it is what it is. Check it out.
So that was Kamala Harris's big Border Patrol speech, and it was probably one of the more ridiculous speeches we've ever heard from any politician, and that includes Kamala Harris. She said she takes border security very seriously.
That's a joke.
That's a lie. She's been in power almost 4 years. She doesn't take it seriously at all. This is the first time she's ever been to the border. She says we must reform our immigration system. Well, the Democrats had the White House, the Congress, and the Senate for the first 2 years. They never touched it. They did Green New Deal stuff instead. She praised the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol hates Kamala Harris. They've endorsed Donald Trump. They've just called her a failure. She says we need more Border Patrol agents. More Border Patrol agents don't matter if all they're going to do is process more illegal aliens into the country.
That's why she wants more Border Patrol agents, so they can process and allow more people to come in instead of having those big lines and then people taking pictures of it.
Bipartisan bill she keeps clamoring about that she's going to sign now, that was just a ruse designed to fail by failed politicians in order to blame Trump for their inaction. It didn't do anything to secure the border. It didn't end catch and release, and it didn't deport a single person. She says she's tough on cartels. How? Give me one example. How were you tough on cartels? The cartels have made more money over the last 4 years than they've ever made in the history of their organizations.
That is true.
She says she's tough on cartels and drugs as AG in California. Drug activity and gang activity in California under her leadership as AG exploded. She says she's for common sense approaches, but she's against the wall. Okay? She says she wants an orderly and secure process. Anybody who just read the last report that said she let 500,000 criminals into the country knows that's not orderly and secure. Fentanyl went up every single year in the United States under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
That's
she says
true.
she's going to get tough and cut a deal with China because they're exporting all of those precursor chemicals to the cartels that gets manufactured. Biden already claimed he got a deal with China last year. Remember the big fentanyl deal? It never happened. Fentanyl kept coming. She said that her highest priority is to protect the lives of the American people.
That's so disgraceful.
She never said Laken Riley's name. All these people that have been victims of migrants, she's never even called them. So that's another lie. And then at the end, she ends up and says, we're going to give illegal citizenship.
Like, literally, if people don't see through all this fake fraud, like, I just don't, I think some people are, like, it just makes me think they're too far gone. I don't want to think that, but whenever you hear them talk and you see, like, what they've actually done, like, what else can you think of? That's where I'm at. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We still gonna pray for them, but there's more because, again, too, you know that they're still trying to come after the economy. They're trying to still come after, you know, they haven't fessed up to inflation. Check this out.
To artificially boost someone's ego. The other half are designed to demoralize you. Most of it's nonsense. The only poll that matters is on November 5th, so I encourage everyone out there to start voting early. None of that really matters, but we also have to understand we're not in a fair fight. We see the entire weight and force of the mainstream media against us. You don't see the media complaining about Kamala Harris literally letting in 16,000 rapists across the border that she was in charge of, 13,000 murderers as part of the millions of people they've let into this country unchecked. They know that. They understand. They put out these statistics. 600,000 criminals. You know what? Sure, come in. It doesn't really matter. They're able to print those statistics, so that means they knew and they allowed them in anyway. So if you have a media that refuses to call that out, if you have $1 trillion big tech apparatus that continues to function as the marketing department for the other side, it doesn't surprise me that it's close. I think the American people get it. I think they understand. They go to the grocery stores and they feel that pain. Kamala Harris caused that. She's not the agent of change that the media is telling us. She's changed everything for the worse. She's been in charge for 3.5 years. She copied the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris failed policies and put them on her website. They didn't even delete the source code. Nothing is going to change. These failed policies of America weakness, America last, are going to continue. And I think the American people will finally understand that if they start paying attention and don't just believe what they're force-fed through the media.
And yet you've got social media doing its best to sort of change the narrative. You know, President Trump has vowed to prosecute Google, for example, at maximum levels for election interference. Give us your sense of whether or not we've seen a change in the unfairness on social media against President Trump.
Well, I think you've seen it. Obviously, you have Truth Social now. You have, what's going on at Twitter or, X. That's become a little bit more of a fair playing field. But most of the other platforms are still a total disaster. Then you get into search engines, such as Google, just manipulating the data that's seen. If you do a search on anything Trump, it's all negative. It's sort of like the statistics you saw from ABC News, where 100% of the Kamala Harris coverage in the last 3 months has been 100% favorable, and everything on Trump was 93% negative. That's exactly how search engines work. People go online, they're looking for the story, and the first 40 articles they see on a given subject is the CNN version of the truth. Not what actually happens, but through their lens. You can actually find the truth if you actually have the time to scroll to page 8,376, but most people don't. So what's going on in big tech, what's going on in the search engine space, what's going on with Google, the way they're manipulating what people are seeing, the information they're able to garner. The truth is out there somewhere on the internet. You'll just likely never find it if you don't have infinite amount of time.
You see, that's why you have True Life News. We're gonna scour the internet. We're gonna look for all the most breaking news, the main points, and we're gonna bring it all together for you in a nice show. I thank Donald Trump Jr. for the endorsement.
Look, Don, at the end of the day, people just want a fair election in November. I want to get your inside perspective. Do you believe that the GOP and the RNC has done enough to protect fair elections coming up now, 5 weeks away? I'm talking about the swing states, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and the enhanced election integrity moves we've seen. Are you comfortable with this? Do you feel that enough has been done?
Listen, I think they're doing everything they can. The problem is, these things are all left with the states. If you have a leftist/Democrat state legislature, there's only so many things you're going to do. I mean, even in Alabama this week, I guess the DOJ is suing because they don't want to remove 4,000 people that they know are actually non-citizens that are on the voter rolls. I mean, that's the...
Did y'all hear that? Alabama found 4,000 non-citizens on their voter roll, so we got to remove them. And they go to remove them, and then the Department of Justice for the federal government says, nope, we're going to sue y'all because you can't do that within 90 days of the election. To me, the bureaucratic politics that I just said, that's got to go. Like, common sense says, look, if they're non-citizens, okay, it's cool. Remove them. But that's not how this administration flies.
Democrat Party doing this. They don't want to take people who are known non-citizens, people who are legally not allowed to vote. They want to make sure that we can't take them off the roster. That kind of stuff happens every day. That's happening everywhere. The amount of lawfare that they're able to put into this, the millions and millions that are funded to it. I mean, it's not just fundraising and campaigns where they can dwarf us because, Soros or whoever it may be. They do that in each and every instance. So I think we've done an incredible job doing what we can, but we're up against a lot of forces that are not looking to do the right thing. They're looking to try to literally give illegal aliens the right to vote. They're looking to let them get away with it. Well, it's not really a crime, if you didn't know. So wink, 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 show up and vote. They're doing this across the board. The amount of calls I've had from people, Ken Paxton and
it's literally in the law in Congress right now. It's already passed. It was in the big bill that they passed. This is why we got to be careful over the big bills. Mr. Tracy J. Norby, let's go with the super chat. Said Kamala, shoulders start collecting wristbands now. Love your news, Joel. Hey, appreciate you, Mr. Tracy. Show him some love in the chat, everybody. But what I was saying is that right now it's literally in the news, right in the bill, that if an illegal shows up to vote and they vote and they don't know that they can't vote because they're an illegal, that their vote gets counted and they cannot be prosecuted. That's literally in the law right now.
Hey, they're giving them ID cards and then they're registering to vote, even though they know they're not actually legal to vote, and they're just hoping that no one has the time to catch it all. So they're playing whatever games they can imagine. They're flaunting it before the American people. It's absolutely disgusting, but we should be accustomed to that now from the Democrat Party, because they are not the party of putting Americans first. They've ostracized so many of their normal demographics that would have been reliable Democrat voters. So rather than actually do what's good for those people and the rest of the American people, they said, you know what, we're just going to replace you by bringing in 20 million unknown, unvetted, some of whom are murderers and rapists, many of whom, frankly, at this point. And that's how they're going to handle the situation.
Wow.
It's honestly, it's laughable if it wasn't happening in America right now. It's true.
Like, this is so bad. I want you to see this at the very bottom. Merrick Garland, the DOJ will challenge restrictions on mail-in voting, use of drop boxes, and voter ID requirements. I'm telling you, like Don Jr. just said, they can't win over their voter base anymore. So what do? They go to these really bad countries. They bring in people that really don't have anything. And then they give them everything, food assistance, housing assistance. They give them Medicare. They give them cell phones, internet, all this. And they turn them into Democratic voters, and then bam. Because remember, these swing states are only won by thousands of votes. This is literally like as lawfully cheating as we've ever seen in a election. And it's so bad because, again, too, like, think about it. Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, who were Democrats, have joined Trump because it's that bad. But listen to what they did to Tulsi. This just tells you how bad things can get. Check it out.
6 months of my being in Congress, I was elected in 2012. President Obama made an announcement that he wanted to seek authorization from Congress to go and start another regime change war in the Middle East, this time in Syria. I was on the Foreign Affairs Committee at the time. Again, I'd been in Congress maybe 6 months, freshman Democrat. I did my research. I listened to their briefings. Then it was Secretary of State Kerry who was coming to our committee and making their case. And they failed to answer even the most basic questions. And this is directly connected to the failures of the Harris-Biden administration. The first thing that you have to ask and be able to answer before you go on a mission is what? What is your objective?
Ooh.
What are you trying to accomplish? What does winning look like? What's your exit strategy?
Wow.
These are things that you probably think of when you're making decisions in your own lives. What are you trying to accomplish? They couldn't answer those questions. And when they said, oh, we want to go deliver a punch in the gut and send a message. I said, what happens when they deliver a punch back? Oh, they won't do that. I did my due diligence. I announced that I would be opposing President Obama's request to go and start another war.
Wow.
And in less than 24 hours, I got a call from the White House. And it wasn't a call saying, hey, Tulsi, we just wanted to see what questions you had or figure out why you oppose this so strongly. What they said was, how dare you?
Ooh.
How dare you stand against your president?
Wow.
How dare you stand against, as a freshman Democrat, your president who is from your home state of Hawaii? They didn't care about the substance. They didn't care about the experiences that I was bringing and the voices that I was bringing to light of those who I served alongside and those who were killed in combat and never came home. This speaks to the dangerous mindset of today's Democrat Party, which is one of the main reasons why I left.
That's crazy. Can you believe that? Just asking blatant questions and then getting a call like that? I'm telling you, I feel like it's bad. But, it's not. I feel like we've always got to have hope, guys. We can't stop. We still got to keep fighting, because if we don't, then they win. And we can't let wrong win. Glenn Carbonaro, thank you so much for the super chat. He said, thanks so much, Joel. You're always my go-to for what's happening. Great channel. I got you, Glenn. Everybody show Glenn some love in the chat. Let's go. Check this out, guys.
Committee member, Florida Congressman Greg Steube. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. What's your reaction to all of this? I mean, these plans could not be more different. I want to get your take on the impact of Kamala Harris's economic ideas versus Donald Trump's.
Yeah, the difference couldn't be more stark for the American people. Kamala Harris wants more regulation, more spending, more taxes, and more government, and Donald Trump wants less of all of that. And those business leaders are exactly right. If TCJA expires at the end of next year, which Kamala Harris has already said that she is willing and wants to do, she's going to let TCJA expire, that means a 20% increase to every small business in America in the federal income tax base. Trump...
Angela Reese, thank you so much for the super chat. Everybody show Angela some love in the chat. Y'all are amazing. Thank y'all so much for the support.
To take it further and reduce S Corps, C Corps, and that 15% rate on manufacturing if it's made in America.
Oh, man.
Significantly reducing taxes on American manufacturing. Kamala Harris would go the opposite direction.
Look at this, because I wanted to show you this. This is super important. If Trump loses, they're going to let these tax cuts expire. Impact on married filers. So this is the thing. If you have 2 kids making $85,000 a year, you're going to be paying $1,600 more in taxes. If you make more, $2,400. If you have 3 kids, $200,000 a year, you're going to be paying $7,400 more in taxes. Why do we got to keep giving the government more money when they can't handle what they've already get? They keep spending more. They're not cutting. We literally are almost $36 trillion in debt. This makes me so furious because they can't manage what they've already got. Why should they get any more?
Said the facts bear that out. For them to say that the economy under Trump was worse than it is under Biden-Harris is an absolute lie.
Yeah, I mean, it's so disingenuous. Of course, that's easily checkable, by the way. But then there's the border. The vice president finally visiting the southern border, stopping by Friday afternoon during her Arizona visit, looking to turn the tide on all the criticism over the weak Biden-Harris border policy and vowing as president to revive that border security bill that failed to pass. This is she lags behind Donald Trump on immigration in the latest Fox News polls.
Let's go.
Your thoughts on the border trip? I mean, she did not visit the border.
But what's sad, though, look at that. Look at that, everybody. What's most sad about this is that 44% of people actually think she would do a better job. That's what I see. She literally left the border open. They literally sent a forklift to raise up the razor wire so people could go under. She's not putting Americans first.
On the border trip, I mean, she did not visit the border at all during the 4 years in office as vice president, but she's going now with, 39 days before Election Day.
Yeah, of course. It's political now. She wants to say she's tough on the border because they know it's a political liability going into November. This woman has been the border czar of our country for almost 4 years, has overseen the invasion of our southern border of over 12 million illegals that have come into our country, over 380 known terrorists, criminals, rapists, murderers, more than 50,000 Chinese Communist Party people, over 30,000 Russians, all have come in under her border czar leadership, if you want to call it that. It has made America less safe. Even their own FBI director has said that the risk of a terrorist attack in the country is high because of their policies. And now they know it's a liability, so she's trying to do a stunt at the border, saying she'll be tough on the border. Every American knows exactly what the last 4 years has been, will be another 4 years of it, and even worse.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned.
And that's like when you see this happening, this just blows my mind. Because again, too, pretty much half of America sides with Kamala Harris and Biden. And I just think of like how many American kids, how many homeless veterans, how many people on Social Security truly need help from America, our government, which we pay our tax dollars into. It just blows my mind. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. I just want to say thank you to all of our new members and to everybody that has blessed this channel with a super chat. Blaze Skywalker. We've got Teresa Anderson, new member. Brooklyn Chick. Glenn Carbonaro. We've got Angela Reese. We got Tracy J. Norby. Where you at, man? And I just want to say thank you so much to all of y'all. We are truly grateful that we get to do this and serve you every single day. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure out of all this crazy news that's happening that you don't have to spend 12 hours watching. You can come watch us and we'll get you taken care of and show you things you sometimes don't normally see on the mainstream media. We love you all. We thank you so much and we're here for you. We'll see you in the next one.